Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Johan De Wachter. I work at KTU, but I have also like a architecture practice in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, and also in Antwerp, in Belgium. We have an office, and today I wanted to speak about the transformations, sustainable transformations of living environments, like based on how we think about it, and I will give three examples. This is a diagram that we use a lot in different in a lot of our projects, and also that we use a lot in the studios that I teach at KTU. Because sustainability, sustainability is a very important topic these days, but sustainability goes way beyond like solar panels and energy efficiency, as we all know, and as we all came to find out. And the important thing is that when you talk about sustainability, and then today I will mostly relate it to urban planning, or to kind of like a neighborhood scale, let's say, it's important that all the kind of sustainable interventions are in balance with each other, because everything needs space. Everything has a claim on space. If you make parking, you cannot make nature anymore. If you want to make a running track or meeting points, you don't have space for water anymore. So yet there has to be some kind of new balance find out in the neighborhoods, and especially in housing or living neighborhoods, where all these elements are in balance with each other. So first of all, it's about more technical elements about energy and a kind of good insulation, but it's also about the climate proofness. Like maybe in Lithuania at this moment is not so much on the agenda yet, or in the news yet, but I don't know if you saw in Belgium and the Netherlands and Germany, there was amazing amount of floodings in September, October, I think, at the end of the summer, beginning of autumn. So the space for water became more and more important, and that everything goes to the sewer and just is kind of spread or like taken out by a sewer system. It's a bit outdated. Mobility is very important. I mean, we talk about it a lot because with the students, we work a lot in the microrajons in Lithuania, mostly in Kaunas. We always do design studios, and their parking is a bit of a nightmare situation, let's say, in a lot of spaces. So it's about parking, but it's also about new modes of mobility. It's about sharing, car sharing, but it's also about bicycles, and then you need bicycle infrastructure. I think also the KTU campus is a good example of room for improvement if you talk about different modes of mobility, because there is just a lack of public transport, there is a lack of good bicycle infrastructure. So it's very important to look at these things, like what you need to kind of, you cannot say to everybody, just go take your bike instead of the car if there is no infrastructure. And that takes space. Bicycle infrastructure or other kind of infrastructure takes space, and it's necessary. Healthy environment, that's a more general term, but it's about recreation, it's about being healthy, it's about healthy space, it's about green, but it's also about services in the neighborhood, and that also puts a claim on space, and you also need to reserve space for that. Nature, the idea that you have nature somewhere far away and then you have the built environment is also of the past. I think the kind of in kind of combination of green, water, and living is very important in the plans we make in the future. And then as a last point, it's a socially sustainable. That has to do, you need kind of livable neighborhoods where there is a healthy mix of different kinds of people, different age groups, young people mixed with older people. So you need the kind of diversity in housing typologies, but you also need the diversity in public spaces, like that are made more for older people, but made for younger people, and all these kind of things. But all these things need space. And if you look at existing neighborhoods, and I will show that in three examples of urban plans that we did in Belgium the past years, most of the plans are only about mobility and housing, and all the rest is forgotten. There is no technical sustainability, there is no nature, there is no space for meeting, there is no space for kids or space for kind of teenagers or this kind of thing. So it's what the aim of my talk today is, and I'm going to try to be short because I don't have so much time, is to show that there can be a balance between all these different aspects. If you Ignacio, if you stop me, I can also stop after 2 examples. Then I don't want to mess up the timetable.
Okay, I will tell you.
Tell me when I have to round up, and then I can round up.
No problem.
So I have three projects. The Bouwhoek, it's in Zelzate, it's a bit the north of Flanders. Then Lande, Kleine Koudert is more in the east, and then Aalst is more in the center. There's 3 kind of existing neighborhoods, like existing neighborhoods with social housing. It's affordable housing owned by a housing corporation that they wanted to transform, and the transformation is because of different reasons, or the houses are too old, or they want to densify, or it's only one housing type and they need more diversity because the society changed and there's different typologies necessary to house people that need this kind of affordable housing. So first, this one. This is a, this is the master plan. The black is the intervention area. What you see here, you have just very simple row housing with gardens, a lot of parking boxes behind, and streets in the front. And again, gardens with houses and a street. This is how it looks. It's old, it's things. So in this case, the reason why the transformation was necessary was because the houses were not sustainable anymore, and it's only one housing type in the whole neighborhood, like 200 of the same houses. So they wanted to update. What we did is, in the top you see the existing situation with the house, the front garden, the street with almost no trees. I think there was, I don't know exactly, but there was almost no tree in the whole neighborhood. You have the other house, you have a garden, the garage boxes, again, hard surface, the garage boxes, the garden, the house, and the street again. And you see in the bottom is what we propose is that you see, if you redistribute all the space that you have available in this neighborhood, you see that you can make a kind of completely different type of public space where you still have the street, where still the car can drive, where there's still space for the sewer and all this kind of things. There's still space for front gardens, but there's also space for green public space where people can meet, where there can be kind of community gardens and this kind of things, where there can also be space to kind of captivate water and let water infiltrate, and playgrounds for the smaller children. So in exactly the same kind of casco and position of the existing roads, you can actually make the same type of neighborhood with houses with a front and a back garden in different types, a little bit smaller, but a bit bigger, sometimes 2 or 3 floors, with a garden that is very, like a proper private back garden. But every time there is space, there's more than enough space to actually give a completely different image to the public space. Also, the parking is still arranged, so they're kind of exactly the same qualities of the existing situation are projected in the new situation, but we tried to integrate also these other types, the green, the water, and also the meeting spaces for different target groups that could look like this. The second project, I'm going to talk a little bit longer about it. It's a bit a similar situation. It's a bit smaller. There's only 60 existing houses in a very simple neighborhood, built like end of 70s, beginning of 80s. Relatively small houses on very big plots and a minimal amount of public space. All the red houses here are rental houses from the housing corporation, and the white are private houses. This is how it looks. Infrastructure and public space mainly made for the car. Every house has a parking spot on their own plot. Everything is made for the car. There is a little sidewalk which is almost unused, and here you see how the houses look. What we decided here after research of the possibility, we investigated the possibilities to renovate the existing houses, but we realized that if we do that, you cannot really make the big structural change in the neighborhood. And so we decided to to demolish the existing houses, the 60 existing houses. The private houses we kept, so they had to be integrated in the new situation. And then in the new situation, build more compact, so you can have space free for new public space that can be part of a larger structure in the neighborhood. I will show that later. Then the parking, we can rearrange and organize completely differently inside the blocks in a collective way, not individual on each plot, but collective insides of the blocks. So you can make new infrastructure, which is also for the car, but mainly for pedestrians and bicycles. In that, if you then add kind of other sustainable elements, like to take care of water in the private, but also in the public space, and green, you get a kind of integral strategy with, for renewal of the neighborhood, where you get a completely different atmosphere in the neighborhood. If you translate that on the whole plan, let's say, you see this is a kind of diagram of the new structure, where you see that the blocks where the houses can fit in are much more compact, and we create space for we reserve much more space for the public. And the public is not just for people or for cars, but it's also is for people for playing, it's for people for meeting, but it's also for green and water. And so we try to kind of integrate all these different elements that I talked about before. Different atmospheres, much more like kind of less active, let's say, areas where nature can do its thing, and other places are much more cultivated for people, for meeting and for playing. Of course, you have to keep things accessible, but instead of individual parking for every inhabitant, we kind of try to solve it collectively. So you save space, and you make also less, the necessity for roads for cars becomes less. Inside the blocks, we don't put one housing type, but we put different housing types. Apartments with 1, 2, 3 bedrooms, and houses with 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. So there is also a kind of complete diversity in the housing types. It's something that, as designers, we cannot decide who is going to live where. We can only kind of seduce people to live in the spot where we would like them to live. That's why this kind of diversity in typologies will probably lead to a diversity in inhabitants in the future, but we cannot decide that. We can also kind of seduce people in that. This is then the new master plan, where you see that the kind of the division between public and private completely changed, and especially the hard surface and the soft surface in the public space completely changed according to the existing situation. So we almost reached 50-50, not really, but like 40-60 of soft surface and hard surface, and that's one of the very important aspects. This is an image how it's going to be, hopefully, in the future, and then a kind of overview of the plan, where you see also this green structure that is part, like that becomes part of a larger structure in the surroundings. Then the last one is a little bit more urban project. I don't know. Yeah, 5 minutes. I think I'm gonna make that. It's part of a little bit more urbanized or like urban setting. It's a low-rise neighborhood, but quite dense already in the city of Aalst. And you see here all the orange houses are social rent, so affordable rental houses, and the white ones are sold to kind of individuals. So we had to keep them and fit them in the new structure. And there is a little park in the center, but that's mainly all the kind of soft public space. The rest is kind of private front gardens. This is how it looks. There's very nice trees, but mainly the car is the king car, let's say, is dominating all the public space in different parts. This is a kind of typical street profile. Also here, the houses are, I mean, is the main goal, or the reason why we started the transformation project is because the houses were a little bit old. So the car is everywhere. This green park is very nice, but it's only kind of one part of the neighborhood. And this is why there was a necessity to change, like only the car and the lamppost changed. The rest stayed more or less the same after 50 years. So there was a necessity to do something else. Also here, I mean, you start seeing a little bit of the same tools we use in the different master plans. So it's kind of reorganizing the mobility or the accessibility for the car, and try to change the parking from dominating public space or being individual into collective areas that are less visible, let's say, from the public space, and try to redefine public space as a place for people in the community and not a place for cars and parking. That is the kind of the goal. And then the public space, try to make it as green and as soft as possible, and to kind of link it to bigger structures in the surroundings. This would be a kind of drawing of the existing situation. And this would be the new situation, where you also see we try to be more compact as one thing. The parking is collectively solved in the center, and we have not one housing type, but different types of housing and apartments mixed, and the public space becomes green and blue. This is the master plan of the existing situation, where you see the big blocks and how we kind of transform it. We take out this road, we take out this road for cars, we take out this road for cars, and focus on other cars where all the houses are still accessible, and then the new public space where people are actually coming home and live at, let's say, and where people can meet. It's for bicycles and pedestrians. And this then is the new master plan for the neighborhood, where you see the new green structure. The car is still there, the parking is still there, and everything is properly accessible. But the main focus of the new public space is for people, community, and the green trees and water, let's say. And this is how it looks in the 3D, where you not only see the new structure of the neighborhood, but also the diversity in the housing typologies. This was my talk.